Good morning, colleagues. Our sincere apologies for the delay, but we are now on time. May I request that those who have cell phones, you put them on silent, and we will be resuming with the JCPS cluster. We'll call upon a Minister in the Presidency, Minister Mondli Gungubele, to lead the briefing.
Thank you, Mr. Waloy. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, various media houses. Again, let me reinforce the apology. At times, there are those moments where you have to recross and redot. So it's not our intention to actually start to keep you waiting. We hope you'll accept our apology in a godly way. Thank you very much. We are here to do an update on the July, to brief the country regarding the update on the July situation and probably what the responses are there, to do our best to keep the country livable, orderly, and a country which is an environment where economy can prosper. This is a security cluster. Those are two chairs, Minister Begi Tsele, Minister Thandi Modise, the General Commissioner of the Police, and myself, Mondli, your partner in crime. We are going to call upon Minister Modise to read a statement. Mr. Modise.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. From the 9th to the 18th of May of July last year. Thank you. From the 9th to the 18th of July last year, South Africans experienced the most violent civil unrest in the democratic era, which left in its wake over 354 people dead. These are not just mere numbers, but precious lives that were lost. Our hearts go out to the families that lost their loved ones and to the thousands who were injured. It is in their memory and honor that we stand here before you today as the JCPS ministers to make a solemn commitment that our country will never be subjected to this level of anarchy and destruction that we witnessed last year in the parts of KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng. We want to say to you that with South Africans, we are determined to never to allow this tragic episode to repeat itself, which was characterized by looting, wanton destruction of private and public property, as well as the disruptions of economic activities. We don't want this to repeat itself. We continue to strongly condemn the criminality that characterized this unrest. The pain and the distress caused by and to many citizens remain very, very fresh in our memory. Please excuse me. The tissue.
Okay. Apology.
Apology. And in Bizango flu. My apologies again. Now that a year has passed, it is time for reflection and an update on the progress that we have made in implementing the recommendations that were made by the expert panel led by Professor Sandy Africa, which was appointed by President Cyril Ramaphosa. The expert panel had highlighted the following weaknesses in the justice and security system: the failure of the country's state institutions to conduct timely risk assessments, the inability of these institutions to forewarn the police and government of the impending violence, the lack of capacity of the police officers to stop and to contain the rioting and the looting, and the lack of capacity within SABC to control the huge crowds which took part in the violent public violence and looting. A number of recommendations stem from these findings, such as strengthening the capacity of law enforcement agencies to respond to all situations, reviving the functioning of the National Security Council, strengthening community policing forum, establishing partnerships between the public and the police, and establishing social cohesion and support programs. Over the past year, the JCPS cluster has worked tirelessly to ensure that these incidents are not repeated. When we come to SABC and the Directorate of Priority Crime Investigations continue to work around the clock investigating crimes that were committed and building cases against those who were arrested as a result of the July 2021 unrest. To this end, 8,000 incidents were reported to the police and at least 5,000 people were arrested. Cases under investigation include incitement to public violence, murder, attempted murder, arson, malicious damage to property, possession of suspected stolen property, damage to infrastructure, and culpable homicide. More than 3,300 cases have thus far been finalized through non-prosecution, with some being withdrawn in or before court. Over 2,900 cases were closed as undetected or unfounded. There are 19 cases from which DPCI is investigating eight people in relation to those who must be arrested on suspicion of incitement to commit public violence. The investigation of about 2,200 cases is concluded. This is pending decision on the viability of the prosecution of the cases. A number of dockets have been referred to the Directors of Public Prosecutions for further guidance and directions on the matter. Over 2,435 cases are on the court roll, with over 50 cases finalized with a guilty verdict. In the township of Phoenix outside Durban, 164 cases were investigated. 120 cases are still under investigation, with a total of 69 suspects who were arrested for various crimes. 36 of these suspects were arrested for their alleged respective roles in the murder of 35 people, while 31 people have been arrested for attempted murder. Visible Policing is actively monitoring the revitalization of community policing forum to empower and maintain functional CPF structures at local policing precinct level. An additional budget has been allocated for this purpose, with a specific focus on those CPF structures that still need support. You will remember that the last time we had a briefing here, we spoke about 10,000 new recruits for the police. Now, in December, these recruits will be deployed to the various police stations to bolster the existing SABC capacity. In responding effectively to public unrest, the capacitation of public order policing has been prioritized. As a result, public order policing will receive an additional 4,000 members during this financial year. Public order police members and frontline officers, as first responders, are continuously undergoing refresher training courses in the crowd control management. Extra funds have also been allocated in this operational environment for the modernization of the unit, including procurement of armored vehicles and aircraft, and further funding has been set aside for the procurement of protective gear for the public order police members. It is worth mentioning that police are mindful of the emerging crime trends and are subsequently looking at equipping police members with specialized knowledge and skills to police and investigate, for example, the cyber crimes. The NPA will provide further details on the progress of the prosecutions relating to the July unrest. As far as state security is concerned, part of the recommendations by the expert panel were to develop and drive a national response plan to address the weaknesses that have been identified and to immediately fill the critical vacancies and address positions affected by suspensions in the SSA and crime intelligence. Now, qualified people have been appointed to the leadership positions of the SSA to bring stability in the organization. We are aware that a full-time Director General has been appointed and all senior management posts have now been permanently filled. The General Intelligence Law Amendment Bill has been finalized and the roadmap for its submission to Parliament was presented to the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence. It is anticipated that this bill will be submitted to Parliament in September 2022. One of the critical issues that were identified was the centrality of NICOC in intelligence coordination and sharing, coupled with the need to get the state departments and entities involved and to take serious the early warning systems that NICOC provides through the national intelligence estimates. Now, ongoing briefings and threat assessments are being shared with premiers to determine the necessary response plans now and into the future. Work is also ongoing in identifying and organizing workshops with various individuals, experts, and SOEs. To date, NICOC has met with AXA on issues of aviation security and ESCOM on issues of energy security. The Department of Justice. The Department of Justice and Constitutional Development has brought together an intersectoral committee comprising of various government departments, entities, Chapter 9 institutions, and other civil society formations and interfaith leaders. The critical intention of the dialogues was to create space in which the affected communities can be heard and their immediate needs be addressed. The dialogues also provided an opportunity where affected communities could be educated on constitutional values of human dignity, equality, and non-racialism, non-sexism, the supremacy of the Constitution, and the importance of upholding the rule of law. In addition, the department has conducted over 45 school outreach initiatives to raise rights awareness to learners at high school in and around Durban. We will continue to work together towards rebuilding the trust of our communities. We strive to build the economy of our country by ensuring the safety and security of our people by protecting our critical infrastructure. As far as SANDF is concerned, the South African National Defence Force stands ready to support law enforcement agencies to deal with any threat to security and the stability of the country. SANDF will continue to be on standby in support of SAPS to protect all the national key points as well as the economic corridors of our country from any disruption or blockages. This is in line with the constitutional mandate of SANDF to intervene when called upon by any state institution to ensure that the safety of our people and infrastructure is protected and secure. Furthermore, SANDF will consider the acquisition of proper capabilities that will assist in dealing with incidents of this nature to allow for easy access to where there may be challenges that require interventions. In conclusion, as ministers of the JCPS cluster, we understand that we still have a long way to go to bring this cluster to its optimal level. We are committed to do all we can to strengthen the criminal justice system, as well as capacitate our personnel and serve our people better. We are also engaging other countries which have state-of-the-art criminal justice systems to share some of their good practices that they employ. We will adapt our methods to make sure that we serve our country effectively. Over and above these measures, we call upon community members to join community policing fora to fight crime and to fight violence. We also call on members of the communities to pass on any relevant information that can assist us to fight crime and violence. Lastly, we asked members of the community not to spread harmful and false information on social media platforms. During the 2021 unrest, social media platforms were used to mobilize members of the communities to participate in illegal activities. Please, before you share information on social media, please ensure that it is truthful and that it builds the nation. And I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how far the statement goes. Now this is the time to engage. We'll take 1 or 2 rounds of question. Willie, can you guide? Can we see hands? 1, Zianda. 2, 3, 4. You know your number. Let's start with you, Zianda.
Thank you very much, Minister. Zianda from Newsroom Africa. I just wanted to know what kind of interventions practically the cluster is putting together to deal with this issue of social media. I mean, to make a rally call that they don't spread fake news is obviously not working. If you look at what's currently even happening on social media as we speak, whether it's national shutdown in relation to the petrol price hike, there needs to be practical intervention. So what exactly is that, and what are the discussions regarding that? The report had also noted that the National Intelligence Coordinating Committee had been ignored when it came to its warnings about the socioeconomic conditions, such as high levels of unemployment, etc. All those conditions that were noted have worsened since that time. So again, what is going to be a mitigating factor, because there is concern that we could see the scenes of last year unfolding again. Thank you.
Thank you. Zianda, number 2. Oh, is that Mahlakwan?
Yes.
Okay.
My first question is on the accountability question. The report was quite strong in pointing out that members of the cabinet, especially in the security cluster, had to take responsibility for what happened and account for what happened. Do the ministers present believe that has been done? My second question is on how many threats the cluster identified in the past year that were of a similar nature as the July violence of 2021.
Can you repeat that one?
How many threats has the cluster identified which are of a similar nature as the July 2021 unrest? And my last question for now is on the Security Council. How many times has it met? The report had found that at the time of the violence, it had not convened over a period of time. How many times has it met since the report came out? Thank you.
Number 3.
Good morning. My name is Thulasizwe Semelani. I would also like an answer on the number of times the National Security Council has met. because by the time the unrest happened, we were told by the report that it had not met at least until December the previous year. But another question that I have is, can any of the ministers and other officials share, at the very least, the opening paragraph of a national security strategy that the Africa report told us was urgent? And if it is urgent, I would imagine that there should be something. I certainly haven't seen anything. So I'd appreciate just what it looks like, what it sounds like at this very early stage. And I wanted to ask about the State Security Agency and the issues that have been flagged over a period of time that were not only subject to the Mafamadi report, but also the Africa report and now state capture report. Yet, I don't know, what's the sense of work that has gone towards fixing, all those issues that have been identified by all these reports? Because it seems to me we keep diagnosing and we're not getting an update on what the fix is. And very lastly, quickly, I see that you don't make reference to instigators. The statement talks about 19 cases, quote, from which the DPCI is investigating 8 in relation to people who were arrested on suspicion of incitement to commit public violence. So what are we saying to South Africans? Was this instigated? Was it a failed insurrection with instigators, which I imagine would make it a priority crime? We should be very busy by now in the courts following the trials. But now here we are. The line talks about 19 cases from which the DPCI is investigating 8 in relation to people. And somehow the language seems to be, it's not as strong as it should be if we're talking about a failed insurrection. It seems to be backing away from that language.
Thanks to us, number 4 up there.
Hi, Tabi Mieni from Al Jazeera.
Tabi?
I also just want to
Who's
ask
speaking?
about Tabi Mieni from Al
Tabi
Jazeera.
Mieni.
Yes.
Okay.
I also just want to ask about the 8 people that are being called instigators. Who are these people? What methods were used to find these people? And if you're saying that these people mostly instigated from social media, are you saying that there's no other private channels that people have used? And how many of these people are in government? And then I also wanted to ask that your timeline says from the 9th of July to the 18th of July, when in fact the looting started on the 8th of July. I know this for a fact because I know somebody who was killed during a looting spree on the 8th of July. He picked up a bottle of cold drink and he was shot on the head by a security guard. So why does your timeline start on the 9th? Thank you.
You are done here.
Yes.
What's that? Funa ukukala amapolisa sizoba safe.
Can you start at the end? Good morning, everybody. Can you start at the end? Why the 9th, not the 8th? On the 9th, there was a meeting at Mpangeni. There was a meeting at Mpangeni where that Deputy National Commissioner of Police was. The Provincial Commissioner was there. The Minister was there. This was the 9th. Early hours of the day, the road called John Ross, that is between Mpangeni and Richards Bay, was blocked by the people who took the keys from the truck drivers, and those people 35 of them were arrested that morning. So that was the start after 2 days or after a day of the arrest of the former president. So officially those were the activities that led to the broader kind of activities. After that, Stenga followed, and then it spread in the province of KZN and all that. So that's why officially that's the incident that is marked as the beginning of that particular day. That was the 9th early hours of the morning. So it comes from there. Question asked by two people. The decision has been taken that the National Security Council meets bi-monthly, is it bi-monthly? Which means once in every 2 months. So that's what is happening since then. Since the Africa recommendation is shared by the president of the country, and it meets once after every 2 months. But there are other structures that will meet. JCPS cluster is that is chaired or co-chaired by defense and the police, and there are other structures. Those they meet more frequent than the National Security Council that meets twice or once every 2 months. The practical ways of dealing with the situation. Indeed, the police themselves have increased the working with other structures. Mangobo, if you care to take notice, as you go to with N3 now, there are places where is a permanent presence of security forces, sometimes assisted by the soldiers, but police will be permanently there, especially places like Yomoi River. But also these highways, especially N3 and others, are patrolled to detect in whatever form that is put in place to disrupt those main arteries of our economy, especially like N3. Hence, there would be more quicker response. I know 2-3 weeks ago, though it took about 12 hours to respond on that, but that would be quicker, as you would know, than the time before because the detection is earlier. Yesterday, again, John Ross, in the morning, they woke up with John Ross, blocking the John Ross. It took 2 hours to deal with John Ross early morning. It's unfortunate people, they kept saying it's blocked, long after it has been opened. Mpumalanga, I'm sure you're aware that today's situation is back on normal. The MEC and the Premier, they've engaged people in Mpumalanga, who I was in constant contact with the MEC in Mpumalanga, Shongwe, who is dealing with the issue of this petrol, especially the taxi industry and the trucks. You know that the taxi industry took resolution. The better working relationships with all other structures. You'd know that 2 weeks ago there was an agreement between the trucking industry and the government in the committee that is led by Nesi, and those are some of the things that saying the Africa report raised, that we need to work closely with this other organization, of which is something happening. I'm sure of the social media, they will answer what is extra that is being done. But what we can say, the laws of the country allow people to go way hard on the social media, with the exception of the young law that unless you call the war and call violence on it, then the state agencies can begin to put the eye on you. But it is monitored. Most of the things that are said there, I think they are better monitored now. There are a group of people that will monitor from the agencies. I know from the side of the police, there are those that monitor and then highlight that situation where maybe we need to respond to those matters. But as we say, democracy is still with us. I can't just arrest you for insulting people without calling violence as the law, the latest law that has been cited. But indeed, is a better way that we have created to monitor those things. You raised there are social issues. I'm sure those social issues will be raised here. Accountability of the ministers. I'm sure you saw the two ministers that here wanted to know if they have accounted. Minister Mdise was in there at the time. Minister of Police was there. I think the President has said this time and again, and that's what the Send Africa thinks, that the cabinet, the whole government had to take the responsibility. That's what the President has said. But there were other things that the ministers responsible had to do extra thing. I'm sure you heard things that were said about the police, because Send Africa again did speak about the POP, but also Falam Commission did speak about the increase of capacity of the POP. Is exactly what we are doing. Out of these 10,000, we're taking 4,000 to increase the capacity. There is extra resources, extra money, extra training, extra equipment that is put on the POP so that we are able to better respond, including the training at the station level and the refresher courses with the POP. Have there been things that have threatened since July? Yes. You remember that after that July, there was a call of a shutdown on August, where the police responded, and that did not happen. There have been quite several of shutdowns that have been called. There's other one, I think, last month that they will be shut down, never materialized. There have been another shutdown that has been called. We saw a little bit of it in Mpumalanga, but in the country it hasn't happened. Several of these calls have been made, and I think the better working relationship and better coordination of structures has worked. But I must say, one other thing that has been really put in order here is to try to work with communities and the structures on the ground, which has really helped a lot. Maybe I will move to 8. There are 19 people that have been arrested on this issue. Can I say that the latest figure, the DPCI is putting eye on 86 more people on this matter, but there are 19 that will be regarded as instigators. 8 are arrested by DPCI, which are hawks, and 11 are arrested by the detective team that was put together there. So there are 19, they remain as 19. 2 of them cases have been withdrawn, and almost all of them, they are on bail. Once you are on bail, which means there is a case to answer. That is going, I hear Tula Sizo saying could be fast and all that. I think for the fact that they are on bail, the fact that they are in court, that means the thing is progressing. 19, 8 of them is DPCI, special detective team that was created dealing with these matters, 11 of those. 2 of them cases withdrawn. Almost rest of them, they are on bail, which means they have a case to answer. The SSA, the Minister of SSA is here. And I think the other things will be responded to by the other ministers. Thanks.
Yes, Minister Modise. We will call on Minister Modise.
I actually have nothing to respond to except that Zianda asked us what we are currently doing, what is happening. We are keeping our eyes and ears on the ground. We are monitoring what is happening in the country. We are not leaving anything to chance. But we're not going to try people by media. We are going to allow the justice criminal system of South Africa to work. To that direction, we are also looking at just how strong the investigation teams are and the prosecutorial teams are. So we've taken the chastisement from the Africa report very seriously. You've also asked us whether anything from the Mafumadi report has been done. Yes. Part of the report, I think, was dealt with. In the first place, when you deal with critical vacancies, you begin to address those, because if you have credible and critical structures in place, those can then start looking at their policies and how they are being implemented. So something is happening there, but the minister is here and he will deal with that. Mem Tlakwana says, what are you doing? Are you taking responsibility? And how many threats? And then they go on to say that about the situations which gave rise to July 2021 has worsened. Yes, we are aware that the economy has not done well. Yes, we are aware that Eskom has had its issues, and the issues around energy security has not only affected business, but it has also affected the private home. Yes, we are aware that the Ukraine-Russia war is ongoing, and that has affected the price of oil, and oil, fertilizer, fuel, whatever. So we are aware on the pressures that are being put on the South African household and the individual. What we are saying is that whilst the state, and I'm very sure that soon the cabinet will come back and address the nation on issues of energy and energy security. That's not my role. I am very sure that whatever the pressures the individual South African has because of the non-performance of the economy, because of the conditions we find ourselves in, that gives us in no way the excuse to take the law into our hands and to do things which should not be happening. We are aware that people will try and use every itching place of South Africans, every problem that we are experiencing, to further their own agendas. Please resist that. Please resist that. We are aware that there are very, very many other itching places. We're looking at each and every one of those. Is it unemployment? Is it young people trying to find their space and growing? Is it gender-based violence? Is it the price of fuel? Yes, we know all of them are beginning to be used as burning issues, and we also know that the private individual's case on them is true. So the state is looking at all of those, and in time I think we will come and address the nation on those. So we're not ignoring, but we're also criticizing ourselves very seriously. Where are our weaknesses? What can we do better? How can we protect South Africa better, internally and from across our borders? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Modise. Thank you, Minister Cele. On the National Security Council, a minimum of 3 times it has met so far. The figure I doubt if it will be less than that. I remember I attended 2. And the other one I was on COVID.
Yeah, I was there.
Yes.
The one you missed.
Yes. He has attended 3. So it's a minimum of 3. Minister Kele is correct once in 2 months. There was a question on the Sandy, Zondo. I guess that includes the high panel. We've tried to give reports on this, but it's correct for the media to keep on asking this question, and we've got a duty to answer. To date, the top management vacancies have been what we call filled. 2, that from the criminal side, there's a productive relationship between SSA, ID, and DPP. We have given them information on a number of names they wanted to follow. The forensic report you might have heard about, we keep on, again, updating the NPA on those matters. So we're on course on that. Over and above that, the new DG is working on a blueprint for turning around the entire institution. The General Amendments Bill from the High Panel, which is about restating the foreign and domestic, has almost at a technical level on the completion. In September, it's going to be submitted before Parliament. So those are some of the interventions. In the area of malfeasance, there's a number of people who have already been fired, other in the process of actually answering for their sins in that regard. What else am I leaving? I think I don't know DDG Pillay is here. Maybe at some stage she can give an idea, but that's why legislations of that kind are led on the social media. Yeah. I must say up front, I think it's a matter that South Africans have to discuss, especially from the Section 33 of the Constitution of the limitation of what we call of rights. I've seen people's images being damaged there without any recourse. I've seen my name. They say I've stolen something. I'm doing this because I stole that. And they write big things that we've stolen. Not a modicum of evidence to that. So people's names are being damaged in that platform. It's a matter South Africans must discuss, and I think as government we must also provide leadership in a manner how best can social media be used for freedom of expression so that South Africans can talk, not anything more than that. The next round is True and then WhatsApp. And yourself? You are? Yes, you. Is that Heidi? My apologies. You are also in the tag, Heidi. And yeah, proceed, Heidi.
Great, thanks. This is Heidi Jacobs from NCA. Just a point of clarity. The 8 instigators, if we can call them that, are you 100% satisfied that it's just them, or do you suspect that there are other people that were behind the July unrest that could possibly still be investigated or arrested? And then just a question with regards to this national shutdown that's trending currently on social media because of what's happening in Mpumalanga on the N4. Have more police and boots been deployed to control that situation and monitor it? Because if you look at the trends, this is what happened last year. There were early signs, and I'm just wondering what's being done to manage that situation. Thank you.
Thanks, Heidi. There's a second one, the second lady here.
Molemo Mutwa from SABC. Molemo
Mutwa.
Yes.
Okay.
Those who are being investigated for inciting violence, what are their credentials? Because surely South Africans would like to know that. And why were cases for the other 2 dropped?
The last question?
Why were cases for the other two dropped?
Okay. You. Anything from WhatsApp, Willie?
Thank you. Takalani will
Shall
take
we
us
say
through.
WhatsApp or online? Yeah.
Takalani will take us through, Minister.
No, thank you, Minister. You would guide me. I have close to 18 questions with me here.
18?
Yes.
All right. Push them. Let's see how far we go. Out of 18, can you do 6?
No, thank you.
And then we'll come to the other 6.
The first two, Minister, are coming from Suman Naidu, who is a freelance journalist. And the first question is, there is a growing concern that the masterminds behind the unrest have not been arrested and charged yet, and the so-called 12 instigators. And why have their names not been made public? And can the cluster assure the nation it will make sure those responsible will be held accountable? And number 2, is there
Number
any
2, what's up?
to prove that some of those that incited the violence came from government ranks on various levels, especially the security agencies? Have the investigations concluded if there were inside efforts by some in the government to promote violence? And the third question from Marvin Adams.
The second question online is from?
The second one. The first two, they were all coming from Suman Naidu.
Naidu, oh, both of those?
Yeah, both
Okay.
of them, yes. And now the last 4 of this round will all come from Marvin Adams, and who has given the background to the questions that suggest there has been reports from sources who have predicted a terrifying scenario, a repeat insurrection likely driven by the former President RET faction and marked by guerrilla-style sabotage. The aim to keep the former president and his allies implicated in the state capture inquiry out of jail. And then there the question, which will be the third, Minister, is, has the cluster heard of such reports since the releasing of the state capture report? And the fourth question, has the cluster found links to the former president or associates? And the following question, how concerned is the cluster about the state of our democracy with regards to the allegations? And the fourth, which will be the 6th of this round, is this an unrest or an insurrection? I think is the matter of clarification. And he said because Minister Mugise just called it an unrest. And back to you. Thank you very much, Minister.
So we've got 8 people who have asked questions. Start with Heidi and followed by Lomutwa. Start with you. Police. It's your day.
Ms. Jakas, 19 people. I did say that there are 86 more people of interest from the DPCI on this one. 86 more. I did say that. So those 19 are not the only. In a not a very low, in a not very distant future, that will come up. The question is their credentials. I don't know their credentials. What is the credential of making crime? You decide to make crime, don't need a credential to make crime. But these 19 people, 2 dropped. I would not know. Maybe the prosecution would know better why those cases will be dropped. Maybe insufficient, maybe withdrawn. I guess the cases rather than dropped are withdrawn. Maybe that's a correct one. Withdrawn case is not a case that is gone. It's a case that more kind of information, if it comes and is found, can be reinstated on those people. What level of these people? I guess there are people that will be in the government as people get arrested. We know that I think one of the people that were arrested with the previous 19 is a certain advocate. Others are the councillors. Others will be on the different level of government. And I'm sure as they get arrested, will know. So it will be the level of different people. That's beside the mass arrest that had happened, and out of them 50 already have been found guilty. But this will be people that will know about them, and in that way will be able to know their levels. I'm not sure about credentials, but know their levels. This question, who are these? I think journalists read too, and if not, they are obliged to read. This question has been answered in Parliament, and the list of names of 19 were given, not names and their ages and charges were given in the answer to Parliament. Maybe you check that answer in Parliament, but 19 names have been given in Parliament. To say that there are no names is not true. Once it's given as an answer to the question of Parliament, it immediately is public. It's public information. So it is there. It can't be true that the names are not known. It has been given, and that question was asked to the Minister of Police, and the Minister of Police signed those 19 names and submitted them to Parliament. So they are there. I'm sure we'll be able then to find that answer and know those names. I think it ends there with the police. The other ministers will answer other questions. Thanks.
Thank Mr. Kala. Minister Mutisa may want to make one or two comments.
Yeah, was it an insurrection or an uprising or an arrest? How does it affect the individual citizen of this country? What instability, inconvenience, insecurity is caused by any action? So for me, it is not important in how you define it. It is how it affects the citizen who has no business in being disturbed from going to their ordinary day of life. It is the instability that is caused, because that instability affects the standing of this country. It affects the economic outlook of this country. And therefore, whatever it is that we use to define this thing that happened in July 2021 cannot be allowed to stand. You have said, and Minister Police has responded, that some people were in government. Maybe I should say, even if those people are in the hierarchy of the Defence Force, they will be found. They will be dealt with. Because we did not set out to try and build a formerly very divided country, to try and unite it on all fronts, to come back today and say, because I am feeling uncomfortable with this on that report, because the price of oil is expensive, I then must set this country alight. So whatever it is, we need to deal with it. But we must also say that we were not casual when we asked South Africans not to spread false and fake news, because they are harmful to the outlook of the country. You could also, as an individual South African, very innocently be spreading a lie that might end up getting somebody's life compromised. And that is why we are asking caution. Make sure that your sources is okay. If you are very sure that the information that you have, if you do not trust the policeman in your neighborhood, please go to the one you trust. Approach us and let us get that information. Because security of any country is every citizen's business. The fact that we think that only people who are wearing certain uniforms and are getting certain tuntons are therefore responsible is not true. Democracy means that we police ourselves and we make sure that we continue to live the life that we have chosen for ourselves, the values that we have set for ourselves. So I would say that whoever it is who is behind the last year, it must be very clear that we will not rest. We don't care who it is. They will face what they must face. There will not be shortcuts. And sometimes when you want to deal with issues, you rush because there is public pressure. But sometimes in the rush, you create blunders and the people who should face the prosecution spring away. So we're simply saying, yes, we regret that this has been a little bit slow, but that the investigations must continue, that people must actually answer, that those who are using the innocent people, especially the young people, especially the people who have nothing, especially those who exposed the people who needed food, who were actually not, because if you go and talk to some of them, those who went to loot for food, they couldn't have cared less about what the intention was. It was, there's food, I do not have food. I'm going for the food. So those people you are not going to put in that list of instigators. You are going to look at those individual cases and say what was, in fact, in the mind of this person when they went to fetch a bag of meal and a few chicken. And I don't think as the state would want to say continue to prosecute such a person. But the mastermind, the spreader of the news, the organizer, that person that is busy saying, put the fire there, put that there, that is the person that we are interested in.
Well, it's an important security cluster briefing, and we'll endeavor to take you there as soon as we're able to. But this foreign developing story, former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has died. The Japanese public broadcaster NHK confirmed his death.
They would have arrested, not a long time, one of the kings being Baja and having rescued a construction monger, Java, from a ransom without paying a cent, 125 million. There is improvement that is actually finding way, and there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. A question is being asked, are these things linked to former president? The investigation is about finding out all the time what is the source of violence. Until those findings are known, there isn't much that can be said. Are we concerned about the security of the country? That's the reason we've come to address South Africa through you, and that's why we appreciate what you do. You have come in big numbers. We want to engage the country, and probably under their leadership, I can dare say we are coordinated and we're being led to the issue. Now we go to the other 6 in WhatsApp. Oh, you don't know how to close it. Let's start.
take the WhatsApp one and then we'll give the ones internally.
According to Merriam-Webster,
We'll give the ones inside another session, but let's go for the WhatsApp because the questions might be the same.
Okay, let's start with the WhatsApp. WhatsApp?
Thank you, Minister.
6 WhatsApp, eh?
Yes. It's coming from Christian Duplessis from Network 24 and is directed to the Minister of Police. And the question is just like with the last year unrest, government could not prevent the ESCOM strikes. And how is this possible? And did you not learn from the drama last year? Is there no capacity to handle such events? And are we thus vulnerable to the blamed national shutdown? And the following question is coming from Erin Bates from Business
Erin Bates?
Yeah, Erin Bates from Business Day.
Oh, Erin, okay.
Yes. And the question is to Minister of Police. The Minister of Police has just referred to the arrest. Former president, was he arrested or did he hand himself in? The following question is the State Security Minister and former police commissioner were fired over the July unrest. Did the police minister consider resigning over the state's failure to quickly get to handle the unrest? And the following question, the defense minister...
Is it still the same name?
Yes.
Okay.
And said the defense minister said the SANDF is considering acquisition of proper capabilities for easy access to areas needing intervention. And what was she referring to? And still from Erin, we've been told 50 cases are finalized with a guilty verdict. Is that the case? And then a year later, when 8,000 incidents were reported and over 354 people died. And the last question of this Bash Minister, still from Erin, the organizers targeted national key points, including roads and ports and energy sites. And the police minister is referred to the recent road blockages. Is there any reason for us to believe the attempted insurrection is over? Thank you, Minister.
That was the second 6.
Yes.
Can we take a risk and take the last 6 so that we don't come back to it?
The following questions will be from Susan Kombe from Amabunga, and said the trucks and truck operators have been both a target and instigator of unrest across KZN, including owners have been prosecuted.
Yes.
And the following question still from Susan, to what degree are local dynamics within the trucking industry fueling the unrest and instances of economic sabotage? For example, competition between rival trucking unions or lobby groups. And the following questions, does your intelligence suggest that those implicated in earlier blockages and attacks on trucks at the Moi River Toll Plaza were part of a coordinated effort to destabilize the country in July 2021? And the following question, the police have previously been accused of failing to stop violence targeting trucks in Mpumalanga. Has the lack of police action or potential collusion by the police been investigated by the intelligence services? And if so, what conclusion did you reach?
Mm-hmm.
I've read 6 questions.
Well done. Thank you. We will come to you and then we'll close. We'll close there. They love you. They love you, Minister Claire. Love back.
police stopping strikes, I'm sure it's you that will kick at us first, okay? The police do not stop strikes, but police, they react in any form of violence when these strikes are happening. Those are labor employer issues that would be ESCOM. But what has been raised there, is that there are issues of criminality. Through you, Chairperson, the national commissioners here, they've been very close on the issues of criminality at the ESCOM, maybe because it's here, can explain what they've been doing about it. But police can intervene in stopping the matters of labor and employer. But criminality, yes, you would work on that. The people have been arrested on these truck matters, and one might have lost the track of them, but I remember very well that the 3-4 weeks ago that took place in KZN, 7 people there were arrested, and they have appeared in court and on bail. Mpumalanga, 37 people there are arrested, and they are appearing in court. These arrests do take place. Maybe what we don't do much as a follow-up, maybe from the side of the police, is to give the feedback on this arrest. People who destroy some property in Alex under the name of Dudula, they've been arrested, and I'm told that they've been given 7 years, each 5 years suspended. So I think we need to create a column of report back what happens to those people that are arrested for prominent and those popular, if they are popular cases. But people do get arrested. That includes the drivers. The drivers yesterday, in John Ross, they gave the issue that a person who was driving a white car came, blocked them, took the key, ran away. Police, because they are better equipped now, immediately they brought these big things, tow truck, to remove those trucks. And drivers, surprisingly, they found the keys before those things went out. They found the keys and they moved the trucks. And the police are searching those drivers. They need to be arrested or explain and give the names of the people that have blocked them. Because clearly, those keys surprisingly just came out when they say those keys have been taken by those people. That's what happened yesterday. So it's a combination. Somebody asked, are these drivers blocked? Are these drivers? It's a combination. It's a combination of drivers themselves having their grievances. Their grievances, they are known, that mostly say is employment of the foreign nationals. But others, they are used by other people, because if the road is blocked by a truck, is bigger impact rather than is blocked by a small car and a taxi. Mpumalanga was a combination of two. The strike was called by the taxi industry, but they blocked, including the claims and allegations by the truck people that they were forced to do it. But as I've said, 37 people have been arrested on those matters. I guess there's or somebody asked, has this minister considered resignation? But how do you separate me from the rest of my colleagues? Because they did not resign. there was an action on them. I'll sit and wait for my action until it comes. So when the action comes, I'll comply. I'll be there. But for now, it hasn't come, and allow us to wait until the time come. The arrest, I've explained, and on many things. Many people have been arrested on these matters, both the drivers. Well, there's a question that needs to be explained, and a lot of analysis of, are there competing issues among the people that are working in the truck industry or not? Last or 2 weeks ago, I did say that Minister responsible, Minister of Labour, for the IMC, that it deals with the trucking industry, we had a good meeting where the ministers, 4 ministers were there, that's Home Affairs, that Transport, Police, and Labour. We had different organizations from trucking industry. We have different organizations from the people that are having problems, like your ATD and others, the young people that are dealing with trucking industry. We signed there a beautiful agreement and memorandum of understanding. I'm sure you can look at that. Indeed, as you deal with these different organizations, you do find the sense that themselves would not agree in everything, but that is not ours. Ours is to find a solution that covers everybody, but also encourage them to talk among and between themselves to find the solutions that will not, at the later stage, impact on the situation where they disturb the broader nation of South Africa, blocking the roads and all that. So that question is raised with the trucking industry, and that question has been discussed. But for now, we have reached a good agreement with the trucking industry and those that work around it. And that document was signed by DGs 2 weeks ago, and the police were represented by the National Commission and other DGs. Maybe to explain that criminal element of what is happening at the level of Eskom.
Thanks, Minister.
Thanks, ministers and everybody present. You would recall that we were called upon the President to establish task team dealing with critical infrastructure crime. We have established those task teams, which they're going to culminate into units, permanent units that will be dealing with matters of infrastructure, destruction, cable theft, illicit mining, you can name it. 2 provinces have already launched those units. Gauteng have already launched. KwaZulu-Natal have already launched also. And all other provinces have already rolled out unit task teams that are dealing with this type of crime. And for Eskom specifically, we have established a multidisciplinary task team which consists of prosecutors that's going to look at all the crimes that are committed within the environment of Eskom. We will update the South Africans in due course as we move on, but we have this team that consists of various specialists that is investigating criminalities that happen in the environment of Eskom. Thank you.
was just reminding General Masimola Uguti, the Commissioner Masimola, that Operation Prosper, which is the police and the defense working together, does net these thieves at the border. Tons and tons, worth millions of copper wires, people are getting arrested there, and those are being confiscated. That includes your vehicles and whatever it is that people think they will just take out of South Africa to other countries. So part of the discussion between the ministries is how do we ensure that the economic crimes are properly prosecuted, and therefore look at the laws that are there and make sure that they are watertight. Erin asked what equipment I was referring to when I was saying when we reflecting on last year's uprisings or insurrections, whatever it is, the term that we choose to use. I was referring to, for instance, personnel carriers. You may remember that we took quite a beating as defense for arriving a little bit tardy. And that was because we had to look for vehicles that could be used to ferry soldiers internally and not come in with those ones. So that is the type of equipment we're looking at. We're looking also of having a few more mobile kitchens so that our soldiers, when they are deployed internally or wherever else, they have more mobile kitchens and more mobile refrigerations. That is what we are referring to. We must also say that when soldiers are in support of the police, it's sometimes difficult to look at what armaments they must carry. They can't go in there with the heavy stuff that they are trained to carry. And therefore, it might be in future, if this kind of thing is going to be long-term, that South Africa allows us to come forward as defense with a discussion on an intermediary force between the police and the soldiers, so that you have a standby element that is always looking internal and allow the soldiers to look external as the mandate says. Thank you very much.
There was an interesting question from Erin, and the minister seems to be wanting to respond.
Which one?
Can't respond.
Which question? No, you don't have to respond. No, you don't have to. Because that question, if you want to, you can. If you don't have to.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
The judge says the former president will hand himself to the correctional services. If not, the Minister of Police and the National Commissioner will have to make sure that he is sent there. The day for the former president to hand himself, I think, is until the 4th of July. And then the instruction is that if the minister does not do that on the 7th, having not handed himself over, they themselves, they'll have to be found some cell and go in cells, the National Commissioner and the minister be arrested. And then the 4th pass, the 5th pass, 7th come, and then the police are ready, and the police are in the house of the former president, and the 11:15, the former president is put in the cars of the police and is driven in the correctional service, driven by the police. So you can deduce yourself what you call that. But did not drive himself, did not go thereof, was driven by the group of police who took them there. Thank you.
The records on the 50, Erin, that they were indicted, we accept the records as such. That's the stats that come from the justice of the 50 and so on. We are going to go to, that's the last. That's the last. You know, last. Let's wait with you to listen. Wait to listen. And that lady here, yourself, number 1, no, it's 1, 2, yes. Go. Hey, the repeaters. Okay, that's the last round. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, we're done. We close, ladies and gentlemen, at that point. Number 1.
Good day, Ministers. My name is Amanda Cross. I'm from the Sunday Times. I just would like to know, a year on, and after everything that you've told the nation, what would you say if the nation would say this is not good enough?
Can you repeat your question?
I'm saying that a year on, all the South Africans that are watching, what would the ministers say to them as a nation if they say to you, this is just not good enough?
Okay. Your name is?
Hi, my name is Mariska Kutzer from the Citizen newspaper.
I mean, say. You are from Citizen?
The Citizen newspaper, yes.
You are?
Mariska Kutzer.
Okay.
Hi, ministers and media. My question is, in terms of controlling fake news, is government or the departments or the state considering censoring social media to try and combat fake news? Or what would the way be forward? Because we all know information is power.
Okay. Number 3.
Xander Noble from Newsroom Africa again. One of the other observations that the Africa report made was that the factional battles within the ANC were causing instability in the country. So from this security cluster's current assessments, what is the politics of the ANC now and going forward likely to do when it comes to the safety of citizens? But also another question directed at the police minister, Bheki Cele. There is a sense that it's either you are scared or you don't want to address those who are perceived to be instigators on social media, including the daughter of former President Jacob Zuma. What would you say to that, Minister Cele? Thank you.
Number 4.
Thank you for allowing me to have a second bite. I just want to put it out there that I think I will leave this room with the impression that there is no national security strategy, because that question was just not responded to. And it's quite important because this is not a new recommendation from the Africa panel. It stems back to the days of the Mafamadi report. In fact, the Africa panel puts it as urgent. And if the report, the African panel report came out some months ago, where is the urgency? Where is the first paragraph of this national security strategy, which is said to be urgent? Then let me pose a question to Minister Cele. Minister Cele, there was an incident between yourself and an activist in Cape Town, Ian Cameron. You've taken quite a bit of criticism in various spaces for the way you responded there. Let me just ask you this way, with hindsight, do you think it's ever appropriate for a minister in a democratic state to address a citizen in the way that you did? With the backdrop that says, even when Minister Lindiwe Sisulu was involved in some exchange of words with an activist, also in Cape Town, there was criticism even in that instance. Is there a way for a minister being engaged, some say robustly, by a citizen to then react in that kind of way? So that would be my other question. Thank you very much.
Ms. Mia?
Tabi Mieni, M-Y.
Oh, Mieni. Yo.
Yes, it's from Algeria.
My apology.
It's okay. So, Minister, you guys confiscated over 200 firearms from Phoenix. Why did the campaign stop in Phoenix? Why not go nationally, make it a national campaign and confiscate assault rifles and AK-47s from citizens and security companies? And then secondly, I spoke to a police officer on the 12th of July from Chatsworth Police Station who said that he went into hiding because he did not trust that his own colleagues, his own Indian colleagues wouldn't kill him. So have you guys rehabilitated black police officers enough? Oh, and then back to the timeline, Minister.
Mieni. Can you repeat the police that went to hiding?
I can't tell you his name.
No, we're not asking for the name.
Just the question.
Just tell us the question.
He went into hiding because he was afraid that his own colleagues might kill him, his own Indian colleagues.
Okay. And now the question was?
Have you guys rehabilitated black police officers specifically enough?
Okay.
Therapy, for instance.
Okay. You done?
So the timeline matters, Minister, because if you say that the blocking of national roads is what led to other events, then it implicates truck drivers heavily. But if you say that, if you look at the events of the 8th, and you say that the looting had already started, then it implicates communities. People are hungry. So it looks like you're trying to drive a certain narrative over another. Why does the 8th not matter? What about Utabani, who was killed on the 8th? What about the other people that were killed on the 8th? Why are you working with statistics that are clearly not correct?
You took more than you deserve, me. Minister, you always lead.
Mami, nobody says that your narrative is authority. If the actual starting officially of this started on the 9th. If somebody has looted on that particular day, they've been looting far outside this even after, and it was not regarded as that kind of the arrest. But what led to this thing started on the 9th is when we have addressed the group of police that were there ready to escort the former president, and they have escorted him to escort correctional service. There would have been noise here and there far long before. For instance, on the 4th, there were people that were stopped trying to loot at Ishawe. But that is not regarded as the chain of events. Chain of events started that particular day. I'm not going to curb you on the question of your narrative that started on the 8th. But the actual of chain of events never stopping from the 9th until the 18th, there where it started. Maybe we'll agree on this one to disagree. Turasizwa umthembu will come on, there is a strategy. Now, the question, robust or not robust. Short of it there, ministers and members of parliament, they've got what is called PCOs. Those are parliamentary constituency offices. They are in the communities, small community. Minister Cele has that office in Nyanga Crossroad, and Minister Kungubele has that one in Guguletu. So you deal with the immediate structures that are there, you invite them. Then these two offices combined, Minister Cele went there and spoke to what is called the council that runs the office, and we agreed to invite people there. 30 organizations on the ward, similar, not in Cape Town, not in the city of Cape Town, on the ward were invited to plan Imbizo to talk about the issues of that, not just crime issues, all issues, because you are running that office as a member of parliament rather than the member of the executive. Then the certain gentleman, uninvited, came, called in Cameroon. Maybe at a certain given time, I can share you the list, the long list of social media kicking and attacking and boxing and dodging all the time. But the issue here that must be explained, not invited, was given a full opportunity, and he really spoke for some time, saying things that he would say. There was a peace, quiet, and everybody listened until he finished. Then the member of parliament that is responsible for that had to stand up and answer. The trouble is not on what he said. When the member of parliament responded there from that office, the gentleman stood up, caused chaos. It is on the score that is called to sit down and listen, because the House, including member of parliament that was there, gave a full respect and listened to him saying everything without anybody making any response. The question there, he failed to render the same response and the same respect that was given to him as everybody listened. So it cannot be you giving your speech and everybody listen to you. When people respond, you stand up, you bang the table and all that. That's what happened. The call was to sit down and listen as you have been rendered the same respect of being listened to, and nobody disturbed you. That's the only thing that happened there. The robust and others, yes, could have happened the better way, but by both the people rendering respect to one another. That's the thing that happened on that particular day on that one. I think the firearms confiscated is you, Mamenu.
Why not national? Says why not national?
Which is not national. We are not confiscating these guns national. We confiscate them all over. On thousands, not in hundreds. Not in hundreds. We are not confiscating them on hundreds. We are confiscating the recently destroyed. We destroyed 42,000. 40. Mamieni. You say the guns are not confiscated. We're saying guns are confiscated. The last destruction of guns, we destroyed 42,000. We're not collecting them on hundreds. We're collecting them on thousands, including last month destruction, 42,000. Maybe we're not inviting Lorenzo and them, Peters, invite them when we go for destruction of these guns. We collected them in Phoenix. We collected. one big portion we collected them. There is a Potchefstroom rank on the other side of Bria Station. We collected a lot of them on those. We collect them all over. We collect, as I've said to you, we destroy them 6 months or quarterly, and when we do, we destroy. Last time we destroyed 42,000, not hundreds. Thanks.
Which question do we have?
I asked him that there's a perception that he is afraid to attend to those
Okay.
who are perceived to still be instigating violence on social media, including the daughter of former President Jacob Zuma. And then my other question was that the African report had said that the factional battles within the ANC are causing instability within the country. So, in your current assessments as a cluster, where do we stand in terms of the safety of citizens in the current political climate, but also in the year of what's going to happen?
You took the platform before it was given to you, and you've made your point. It's fine. The ANC issue will ask Minister Modise to deal with. He will deal with the social media.
Mina bengizothaka ubuza kuphule lo mbuzo ogcina. Bengizothaka ubuze kuphule not la. The first one, Mangobo, the Minister of Police arrests nobody. Minister of Police arrests nobody. Police do. And the Minister of Police will hear that so-and-so has been arrested, investigated, there is evidence, information about, converted on that one. So, if it were me that you are arresting, because now sometimes I do feel that it would be good if so-and-so has been arrested, but I can't instruct police to go and arrest or not arrest. So, the question of instigators, including the name of Tutuzi Zuma that have been raised, is a question of the police, and I guess they are doing some investigations. When the time comes that tells them that is investigation is converted to a good evidence, maybe they'll act in that particular time. Thanks. But ukusaba cha akukho.
Yeah, on the Minister Cele is right. We should ask Pule Mavi to respond to this one. But members of the ANC are also taxi drivers, bus owners, business people, domestic workers, teachers, nurses. They are everywhere within society. So I suspect that sometimes, driven by economic needs, they will take whichever line and stand on whichever line they wish to stand. Now, when criminality acts that may be defined as economic threats, political threats against the state are posed, it would not be in the interest of the minister sitting here to look at whether this one is in this faction or not in that faction. And so when matters criminal happen, at the police, at the prosecutorial level, they cannot afford to look at the colors of this individual. They must look at what this person has done and act on that, irrespective of whether or not they fall within this party or that party, or within this faction or not that faction. And therefore I want to say that at a level of government, we have no interest in protecting one faction against the other. Anybody who goes against what is established norm, what we fought for, must then face the wrath of the law. So we shouldn't be harboring the thing, Uguti, there is this faction that must fight that faction and that faction will protect that faction. We will not do any such thing. And I think that is where I want to stop this, that nobody is above the law. if I do anything in my private capacity and do certain things, if I do things under my colors in the ANC, I must be able to stand for, as an individual who took the decision to do whatever act I have done in that capacity where I took the decision. If it is affection, habari zabo. If it is an individual who takes a decision, they must take that full responsibility. And we cannot excuse any behavior. Because once you start doing that, you create a situation where the animal farm falls in. There are those. And we cannot, Tina, stand here and say there are those who can perpetuate, there are those who can instigate, there are those who can steal, there are those who can murder, there are those who can rape. Anybody who goes against any part of our legal system must be arrested, must be prosecuted.
Thank you very much. Amanda, if South African says not good enough, that will not be the first response. For 27 or 28 years, we've come across that question, we've responded. The best way to respond to that question is to understand what characterizes the inadequate performance. That's the only way you can correct it. So we'll respond until the end of the term, right? And that question doesn't irritate us, by the way, that response. Because the reason we talk to them is we want to hear that, whether they are happy or not. At the end of the term, it's their decision to say, "Hi, your good is not good enough for us." We've always respected South Africans. Mariska, on the social media, I think we've tried to answer this question. South Africa has to deal with all that which is criminal in terms of the law, whether it's in the social media and whatever. But you'll accept that, Mariska, this is another space which when you enter, sometimes it's difficult to find the origin of the insult. I've seen a lot of insults under my name there. Others are speaking about the ugly shape of my head. But I don't know where it comes from. So I don't stress anymore. But there are communications there that hurt the dignity of people who carry themselves well in society. So that's why I'm saying conversation, probable justice system needs to lead us with regard to how the dignity of the people which they are entitled to can be protected, even against social media. It needs conversation. I thought I wanted to read something before I come to Tula Sizwe. The strategic environment within which the security architecture of a sovereign nation operate is constantly changing and evolving. The manifestation of threats to security and stability is rapidly changing and is realizing itself in ways that are complex and to which traditional and conventional current approaches can no longer be applied effectively. It is therefore in the interest of the national security that the state constantly monitor, assess, and react to changes in the strategic environment. You said you want one paragraph. I've read it for you. That is the document called National Security Strategy, which is under consultation. The only, maybe just to make a point, this government is taking it forward. The president, you remember, Minister said, there must be public consultation. Because national security strategy to work better, you must not make it a secret protocol document. So at least I performed. You can give me marks. I read the first paragraph for you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your time. Thank you for everything. Thank you.
The Justice, Crime Prevention and Security Cluster updating on the 2021 July unrest. A very good afternoon to you and welcome to...
Started at 5:30. but we started at 20 to 11, but you gave us 1 hour 55 minutes. So thank you very much. Colleagues, I think the ministers were available for us for close to 2 hours. However, there are a lot of questions that I know colleagues want to ask. I should indicate to you that we have from the Hawks, Brigadier Mbambo, it's here for further questions. From the South African Police Service, we have a contingency here led by Major General Peters. We have Colonel Emate, and also we have my colleague Liranzo from the SABC. And from the Defense Force, we have also my colleague Cornelius Munama, also Generals Impiwe Dlamini. So colleagues, for any other further questions that you have, they are here. Ministers, we thank you very much, and the press briefing is adjourned.
Thank you very much, guys. Yo, you made us earn our salary.
I don't think you're going to do it.
Really? I am late for an 11 o'clock meeting. Please. Indirectly.
Thank you so much. Listen to that song. There's a new song.
There is a song that we We were enjoying it. That's
How are you? Maybe they're in the boardroom. Somebody else. No, I'm sure there's somebody.
You know. You know.
Thank God.